this video, I interviewed the Missouri Department of Natural Resources State Parks Director, David Kelly. In the interview, he talks about his background. He talks about Department of Natural Resources and what they offer the citizens of Missouri. He also talks about different state parks and different features that they have that, whether you're a citizen of Missouri or you're visiting the state of Missouri, things that you can attend and, look forward to. At the end of the interview, he does mention a couple of events that are going on. And this interview was on September 26th. And so some of those events have already passed, but their website is in the description below. And I still encourage you to look at upcoming events and see what parks Missouri has. Maybe there's one that interests you that you haven't been to before. So there's a lot of cool stuff. So hope you enjoy the interview. This is the first one on the channel. I have several more lined up or that are in the works. So please enjoy the interview. Thank you for the interview today.
Okay.
We'll start off with what was your upbringing like?
Well, I grew up in central Missouri in the little town of Sturgeon, not too far from Finger Lake State Park. Spent a lot of time at Finger Lakes growing up. Yeah. But we always spent a lot of time in the outdoors and mostly state parks. A little pop-up camper my parents had. And so we spent many summers and fall out exploring Missouri state parks and floating and hiking, and kind of got me interested in state parks.
Yeah. So when did you start with the Department of Natural Resources, and what was it like rising to Director of State Parks?
Yeah, I started as a seasonal employee while at the University of Missouri in 1986. Actually conducted user surveys out in parks and sites. So I think there were 15 parks and sites selected, and we went all summer and did travel intercept studies and talked to people about where they come from, what kind of activities, and so then I came back the next year and did an internship in the marketing and promotion section, and then graduated the next year and got on as special events coordinator initially, and then worked my way up as a section chief, a program director, deputy director, and then now director.
Cool. And how many state parks and historic sites does Missouri have?
We have 93 state parks and historic sites.
Okay. And which is the oldest and the newest?
The oldest, there's a couple. The oldest state park, the first original state park was Big Spring State Park. And we are actually going to have an event this weekend to kind of celebrate the 100th anniversary with the National Park Service. But back in the late 60s, Big Spring, Round Spring, and Alley Spring were identified as of national significance and were used to create the Ozark National Scenic Riverway. So the state of Missouri transferred those parks to the National Park Service to create that first national park protecting a riverway. So the oldest state park we still have is Bennett Springs State Park, which actually celebrates its 100th anniversary this Saturday. Yeah. And then Mark Twain State Park is also celebrating its 100th. And then the J. Houston Tavern at Arrow Rock State Historic Site, which is the oldest operating tavern, continuously operating tavern west of Mississippi, was actually transferred to the state park system in the fall of '23. So it was our first historic structure that the state park system had.
Yeah, which the Bennett 100th anniversary, I'll actually be attending that.
Oh, good.
And stuff.
Yeah.
So the Reddington Home Waters and that's going on at the same time, and they're just right down the road from each other. I've never been to that one.
Yeah.
But I've been to Bennett several times. And so,
yeah, it's a nice park.
Yeah. What's maybe some interesting stories related to some of the park's histories?
Oh, there's lots of them. Big Oak Tree State Park, the locals, actually, if you look at that on a Google map, it's just all farmland, and there's about 1,000 acres of woods with, tall nationally and state recognized trees. The Big Oak Tree, where the park got its name, I think during the 1904 World's Fair, they were trying to cut it down and take a cross section of it. It died later. We've actually got a cross section in the park. That's an interesting story. All the parks have kind of unique stories. About half of our parks were donated to us. Watkins Mill, to me, is an incredible story. The farm and mill was being sold, and some local farmers actually went to the auction to buy it. And it had all of its original machinery still intact, and they hated to see it broke up, so they bought it, the whole farm, and donated it to the state to create that state park and state historic site. And it's the only woolen mill in the United States with all of its machinery still intact. So it's very cool if you get a chance to go up and take a tour of that. It's literally like walking back in time. Scott Joplin State Historic Site, downtown St. Louis. When you walk up into the apartment, it's like walking back in 1902. It's got gas lights. This is where he lived when he wrote his most famous piece, The Entertainer. There on Delaware Street in St. Louis, and Thomas Hart Benton home and studio in Kansas City is unique. Thomas Hart Benton was actually working in the studio on a painting when he died, and everything there is as it was the day he died. The paintbrushes are still in the jar. Now the painting he was working on was commissioned. It's worth millions of dollars. Isn't there? I mean, but everything else, the chair, everything's still there. So it's unique, you know, that you can experience and see what that was like in the 70s when he was actually painting. Yeah. Missouri's only 4 historic covered bridges are all in the state park system, all protected forever, and there's only 4 left, and we have all 4 of them. So
yeah, yes, I've been to the Union Covered Bridge. Yep. I've been to that one. I haven't been to the other 3.
Yeah,
but that's a goal of mine. Which because I've only been to 22 parks and historic sites, and stuff, which isn't halfway and you know, near that stuff. But yeah,
we jokingly refer to a 93 club of people that I'm one. It took me about 30 years to get to all of them, but I finally made it and visited all 93 state parks and historic sites. So
cool. What do you think surprises people most when they visit Missouri's state parks?
I think if you're from out of town, the fact they're free. Because most states charge entrance fees to get in their state parks. Missouri's only one of 7 states that don't have entrance or parking fees. So I was in Colorado over Labor Day weekend and I went out hiking in a state park. It cost $10 to drive in just to hike. And so because of our dedicated park sales tax, you know, we don't have entrance fees to our park. So you can come hike and just enjoy the park. Now you pay for camping or you pay if you're going to stay in a cabin. But just to get into the park, you know, Katy Trail, which is our longest developed rail trail in the nation, you go to other states, you know, pay $3 to $5 a day just to ride a trail like the Katy, but Missouri it's free.
Yeah, it was. My wife and I had only been, and I know this is unrelated from state parks and stuff. Had only been to the St. Louis Zoo for several years and stuff, and we went to where were we? It was a different state and stuff, and and that was kind of a surprise to us and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, and then you know later we went to Kansas City and all that.
That's I think the Missourians, if they don't travel outside to other state parks, they don't realize that how lucky we are that we have, you know, one of the top state park systems in the nation, and it's free, and it's due to the citizen support. So we have a dedicated sales tax that we've had since 1984. That goes back to the voters every 10 years. And so the last time it was voted on was in 2016, and it passed by 80% statewide in every county in the state of Missouri. So we got great citizen support for our state park system.
So what are some of the things that Missouri state parks have that other states don't, or that make ours more unique, I guess?
You know, all states are a little bit different. I'm on a kind of a central United States team of state park directors. We meet regularly, and you know, Texas has got the USS Texas Battleship, and Little Rock State Parks, Arkansas State Parks has their football stadium in Little Rock. So everybody has some unique stuff, you know. You know, Missouri, we have, you know, our mission is, you know, the best examples of, you know, Missouri's natural landscapes and cultural landmarks, and to provide compatible recreation. So we try to have the best showcases of what Missouri has to offer. So we've got the state's highest point at Tom Sauk. I mentioned the 4 historic covered bridges. Famous Missourians, I mentioned Benton Home and Scott Joplin, but we also have, it's very unique at Mark Twain birthplace. We actually have the cabin Mark Twain was born in, Samuel Clemens was born in. It's in a shrine inside of a museum at Mark Twain birthplace. And we also have the original manuscript of Tom Sawyer. You know, it has handwritten notes on it. And so there's lots of unique things like that around the entire state park system that, that you know, make these parks and sites, you know, at that level that they become a state park or historic site. We don't, not everything does. We get, you know, offered properties all the time. We go out and evaluate to see if it rises to that level of a state park or a state historic site.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Mark Twain Lake and stuff, but I haven't been inside the building there and stuff. So.
Get a chance to go see that museum and shrine. It's got some great exhibits, but just be able to walk around and actually look at the cabin he was born in is pretty unique.
you'd mentioned Finger Lakes earlier and stuff, and my wife and I last year, maybe the year before, I think it was last year, we went there, and it was on a Saturday, and we just, because we'd never been there,
Yeah.
and so we went there, and it's just like, oh yeah, there's kayaking over here and stuff, and then there was like a lake where you could I guess scuba dive and stuff, and then we went and saw the motocross,
the motocross track,
and the grandstands and stuff, and there was people there.
Yeah.
There was a little kid on small little four-wheelers, and we sat there probably an hour and just watched them ride around.
It's pretty entertaining. Yeah, Finger Lakes, like I said, I grew up at Finger Lakes, but it's got, I think one of our most, we've been doing a lot of kayak rentals on our lakes, and so Finger Lakes and St. Joe and Quiver and several of them, Haataka, have aquatic trails. It's kind of unique where you can actually rent a kayak and follow a buoy system. So I think there's about 6 miles of aquatic trails at Finger Lakes where you go from lake to lake. And so Finger Lakes has got one of our most popular kayak rental operations, or you can rent canoes and paddle boards too. But we also have the off-road track, which is real popular in off-road trails up there. We have a nice mountain bike trail and hiking trails, and we've got a pump track up there. There's one place we have a pump track, which is sort of unique. It's over near the mountain biking area, but it's got a great beach, and we've got the North Shore Lakes, a really long lake, so it's an area where we let people take their dogs and have the dogs play in the water, and it's also a lake where people train for like triathlons and stuff like that, because it's a long narrow lake for training. So and in St. Joe State Park's our other off-road park.
Okay.
It's bigger, it's more popular, but we were just down there last week, and it's just amazing there. We've got 13 miles of paved trail. We've got equestrian camping and 2,000 acres of open riding area, mountain bike trails. It's got actually a radio-controlled airfield for people that fly radio-controlled airplanes. So it's amazing those two off-road parks have all kinds of different recreational opportunities.
And then I'd seen stuff that the track chairs that some of the parks offer.
So we have 6 of those now. Missouri Park Association had purchased 3 of them, and in addition to the ones we have. So and those are very nice. So we have them right now at Battle of Lexington and Elephant Rock, Pine Creek State Park, one of our new state parks. And then we've got new ones going in at Bennett Spring, Castlewood, and Pershing Home. And they're free. We've got some really good feedback for people that have used those that haven't had an opportunity to go out and hike one of our trails. And they with the tracks and stuff on there, you can go just about anywhere. We do have a designated trail system they can go on, but they're free. You can reserve them, and accessibility is something we're focused on statewide. This year, for the first time, we had accessible beach chairs at all of our designated beaches. We have, I think, 18 beaches where Memorial Day, Labor Day, people go swim, but we have beach chairs that people can use free of charge. And not only does it get you down in the water, but you just float right in the water and you float on them. And so they're very unique and very popular. Another thing we do with the accessibility, and we have it upcoming on the Katy Trail, we do tram tours on the Katy Trail for folks that may not have the opportunity to go out. We've been doing the ones in October, usually tied around Missouri Day, which is the 3rd Wednesday in October. I think this year there's October 17th and 18th. And we use some trams that our Parks Association bought for us that are pulled behind park trucks. And then we also use some trams from the Boone Electric Cooperative. So we have 6 trams running down the old road track, which is the Katy Trail, and from Roachport to McBain and back. And we'll take about 600 people over a 2-day period out on the trail to experience the Katy Trail in its full, fall glory. We also do tram tours on the Katy. We call Tuesdays on the Trail. Tuesdays in like May and June and September and October at different places along the Katy and the Rock Island Trail.
Okay. And fishing is what I enjoy most, and that's what draws me there. But I do want to see all the state parks anyway, and the historical side of them and stuff. But my wife, has horses, and so that's what draws her to parks and stuff, is the equestrian trails and stuff. And so she knows of a group, the Backcountry Horsemen, that go out to the parks and do maintenance and everything. And,
we got a great partnership with the Show Me Backcountry Horsemen. If you go to most of our equestrian trails, there's a mounting block, and it has their initials in it, and they provided those. But they also do trail maintenance. in state parks. They do trail maintenance on the Ozark Trail and really help us, upkeep a lot of the equestrian trails around the state park system. They're a great partner. We do a lot of volunteer groups like that do trail maintenance. We've got great volunteers that do our campground host, and we couldn't operate our campgrounds. I think they provide over 150,000 hours of free labor to operate our campgrounds, and so but we could not operate our park system without our volunteers.
And so, with some states, the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources and stuff, it's, whatever it's called, but it's all under one.
Right.
And here in Missouri, it's separate and stuff. And so, Natural Resources, is more of the environment and stuff, and conservation is more of the wildlife. And so what's the partnership like between?
Very good. Actually, we were together until 1937. Then they separated state parks off because state parks are wildlife refuges, and so our focus is a little bit different. Our mission I mentioned earlier, but we do work together a lot. I mean, we work together not only at our trout parks like at Bennett Spring and Roaring River and Montauk, where they operate the hatchery within our park, and then we operate the park, camping and trails and those kinds of things. But we partner all over the state, whether it be a managed deer hunt. We don't allow hunting normally in state parks, but when our deer population gets too high, we do regular counts, and then we work with the Department of Conservation. We close the park for a weekend and do a managed deer hunt to manage that size of that population. We work with them on burning prescribed burns. We work with them on invasive species control. We do lots of events. We do events in St. Louis, Kansas City, Roaring River called WOW, Wonders of Wildlife. We do lots of programming like that where we partner with the Department of Conservation. So it is a really good working relationship.
Roaring River I haven't been to yet and stuff. And with the managed hunts, I know that there's also, I don't know if it's specifically, or I know it includes veterans.
Yeah, we've got a couple that we've actually carved off to do a special veterans managed deer hunts. We've done several years at Mark Twain State Park, and then we've done it last year. I think was the first year we added at Crowder State Park. So there are 15 veterans. We work with the Veterans Commission to identify those, and they come in and they get guide and training, and it's a pretty interesting event that really thanks our veterans for everything they've done, and they come out and get to experience something that a lot of folks wouldn't, because we don't normally allow hunting in a state park. But it's been a very popular event, and so we look for those opportunities to expand that where we can.
I forget which one it was and stuff. My wife and I went to the state park, and we were just driving around, and everything, and we saw the kind of look like bunkers, but it's the blinds and stuff. And we were like, I'm pretty sure that's for like managed hunts and stuff. And we asked one of the employees, and they were like, "Yep, that's what they are."
Yeah,
so,
sure enough.
So I know you're probably asked this all the time and stuff, but what's your favorite park, or maybe like a top three?
Well, it's always the toughest question. We've got, they're all very unique. I live about a mile from the Katy Trail, and I have a kind of a long connection with the Katy Trail. I was there April 28, 1990 when it opened, and have been involved kind of so the Katy Trail's got to be up on the list because of my connection. I would say Echo Bluff is probably my family's favorite right now. We go down there quite a bit. They like to float on the Current River, and so that's something that's pretty exciting. And then Thousand Hills State Park, I would say up north, we've been doing quite a bit of work up there, new trail, new docking system. But it's if you go to northern Missouri, you don't expect. It's called Thousand Hills for a reason. It's very hilly, but it's a spectacular state park on a lake up there. It's got some great trails. We're actually working on a trail system to connect the park to Kirksville, which is about 6 miles away. And so I think there's many to choose from, but they're all spectacular. It's always hard to answer that question.
Yeah, had a trip to Iowa, and on the way back and stuff, I saw Long Branch and Thousand Hills. I saw them from the road, so I didn't get to stop at them, but I want to go back and stuff because just from the road it looked beautiful. And then Echo Bluff, been there, and at the time, because it was early on when it became a state park and stuff, we went down there and didn't realize there's horses down there. So we didn't see any, so we want to go back and
I was down there last week, and they hadn't been there most of the summer, but they've kind of shown up the last month. There's a couple different wild herds, and Yeah, it's an interesting management challenge because they're federally protected wild horses, and a few years ago we had a few of them that were in the campground chewing on seats and causing some issues, and people were feeding them, which we asked them not to do. And so there's an organization called the Wild Horse League that takes care of them, and so they came in and removed and adopted out a couple of them that we were having some challenges with there in the park. So that's why I encourage people not to feed them. I mean, look, but don't feed and touch them. So.
And so what's the best way for people to find out about events going on at the state parks and just information in general, and then what are some upcoming events?
Yeah, so I would say moststateparks.com. I mean, it's probably our website, the best place to get information. On social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we post regularly. We do it from our main state park, but also a lot of the individual state parks and historic sites, post a lot on Facebook, and it's a good way to find out about events. It's been amazing since I started. The transition from peak season used to be Memorial Day, Labor Day, and things have changed a little bit with school starting earlier, and so there's a little bit of a lull the last 2 weeks in August, but then September and October are two of our busiest months of the year now. Primarily because the weather's beautiful like it is now, but there's a lot of special events. So this weekend we've got the Battle of Pilot Knob Civil War reenactment at Pilot Knob. They'll have about 800 reenactors and probably 25,000 spectators for the weekend. And then we have Prairie Jubilee is this weekend also. And that Pilot Knob reenactment only happens every 3 years, and then Prairie Jubilee happens every other year. So that's not something that's a very unique event at Prairie State Park, which is about 4,000 acres of prairie with bison roaming on the open prairie, and they'll have all kinds of interesting exhibits and interpretation down there this weekend. So, and then we've got I mentioned the tram tours coming up. October 5th, we've got the Bennett 100th anniversary, the 7th annual Salt River Quilt Festival at Mark Twain State Parks happening. We've got a big event at Battle of Island Mound on the 12th of October. And Battle of Island Mound's unique. It's the first place that African American troops fought in the Civil War. If you've seen the movie Glory, this happened before that, and it was here in Missouri. And the site of that battle of the fort is a state historic site over there. So we've got a commemoration over there on the 12th. But go to our website, check out social media. Our busiest, really October is probably our busiest month for special events. The weather's nice. There's a lot going on. The Big Heritage Crafts Festival in Arrow Rock is in October. There's lots of stuff going on, kind of all around the state park system.
Yeah, tons of events. So, but yeah, that was all the questions I had for you. If there's anything else you wanted to add or
just appreciate your interest in state parks, and we've got a great system. We do about 20 million visitors annually, and the one thing I like, because we don't have entrance fees, it's kind of hard. Those are estimates, but we do about 1.3 million people spend the night with us every year, which is between camping and lodging and group camps and everything that we offer. We have a lot of people that stay with us and spend the night, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, and there's every park that I've been to, and some, like I said, only 22, but everything's interesting and beautiful and stuff, and so
all unique. Yeah.
Yep. So, well, thank you for your time in the interview.
Yep.